1. When was the World Health Organization officially established? The 7th of April 1948. 2. Which international organization preceded the WHO in health matters? The Health Organization of the League of Nations. 3. Where is the headquarters of the WHO located? Geneva, Switzerland. 4. How many member states does WHO currently have? 194 member states. 5. Which is the only UN member state not a member of WHO? Liechtenstein, as of latest data. 6. What is the significance of April 7th in relation to WHO? It is celebrated as World Health Day, marking the organization's founding. 7. Who was the first Director General of WHO? Dr. Brock Chisholm. 8. What major global health milestone did WHO achieve in 1980? Certification of smallpox eradication. 9. What was the first disease to be declared eradicated by WHO? Smallpox. 10. What is the constitution of the WHO? A foundational treaty adopted in 1946, outlining its goals, functions, and structure. 11. How many official languages does WHO operate in? 6. Arabic, Chinese, English, French, Russian, Spanish. 12. When did WHO open its first regional office? 1951. 13. What is the name of WHO's regional office for Africa? WHO Regional Office for Africa, AFRO. 14. What health emergency led to the creation of the International Health Regulations, IHR? Cholera epidemics in the 19th century. 15. In which year was the WHO Framework Convention on Tobacco Control adopted? 2003. 16. What is the supreme decision-making body of WHO? The World Health Assembly, WHA. 17. How often does the World Health Assembly meet? Annually. 18. Who appoints the Director General of WHO? The World Health Assembly. 19. What is the term length of the Director General of WHO? 5 years, renewable once. 20. What is the Executive Board of WHO? A body of 34 members, technically qualified in health, that implements WHA decisions. 21. How are members of the Executive Board selected? Elected by the World Health Assembly. 22. Q. How many regional offices does WHO have? A. 6. 22. How many regional offices does WHO have? 6. 23. Which countries host WHO regional offices? Congo, Afro, Egypt, EMRO, Denmark, Euro, India, CIRO, Philippines, WPRO, USA, PAHO, AMRO. 24. What is the role of WHO's regional directors? They oversee health programs in their respective regions. 25. What committee advises WHO on vaccine safety? Global Advisory Committee on Vaccine Safety, GACVS. 26. What body within WHO addresses ethical issues? WHO Ethics Review Committee, ERC. 27. Which office of WHO manages global emergencies? Health Emergencies Program, WHE. 28. What is the WHO Academy? A new initiative to train health professionals globally, headquartered in Lyon, France. 29. What are goodwill ambassadors in WHO? Prominent public figures appointed to advocate for health causes. 30. Who was the first African Director General of WHO? Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus. 31. What is the role of WHO collaborating centers? Institutions designated to carry out activities in support of WHO programs. 32. What does the Global Polio Eradication Initiative, GPEI, represent? A public-private partnership led by WHO to eradicate polio. 33. What is WHO's mandate regarding universal health coverage, UHC? To promote and support countries in achieving UHC. 34. Which department within WHO monitors global disease surveillance? Global Alert and Response, GAR. 35. What is the WHO Hub for Pandemic and Epidemic Intelligence? A global surveillance hub based in Berlin, launched in 2021. 36. What is the name of WHO's database of essential medicines? WHO Model List of Essential Medicines. 37. What global health day raises awareness about tuberculosis? World Tuberculosis Day, March 24. 38. What is the WHO Pre-Qualification Program? A process for assessing medicines, vaccines, and diagnostics for quality, safety, and efficacy. 39. What is the International Classification of Diseases, ICD? A standard diagnostic tool used globally, maintained by WHO. 40. What version of ICD was adopted most recently? ICD 11. 41. What is the Global Health Observatory, GHO? Whose portal for health-related statistics? 42. What does the WHO-UNICEF Joint Monitoring Program monitor? Water, sanitation, and hygiene, WASH. 43. What initiative is used by WHO to combat antibiotic resistance? Global Action Plan on Antimicrobial Resistance, GAP-OMR. 44. What is the NCD Global Monitoring Framework? A WHO tool to track non-communicable disease trends. 45. What does the COVAX initiative aim to do? Ensure equitable access to COVID-19 vaccines worldwide. 46. Which body within WHO reviews new global diseases? WHO R&D Blueprint. 47. What is the purpose of the Solidarity Trial? To test the effectiveness of COVID-19 treatments globally. 48. What is Triple Billion Targets? Whose goal to provide health coverage for 1 billion more people, make 1 billion people safer, and improve well-being for 1 billion. 49. What is the Global Vaccine Safety Initiative? Whose program to improve vaccine safety monitoring worldwide? 50. What is the purpose of the Health for All campaign? To promote universal access to healthcare. 51. What tool did WHO launch to track climate change and health? The WHO Climate and Health Country Profiles. 52. What is the WHO Mental Health Action Plan 2013 to 2030? A strategy to promote mental well-being, prevent disorders, and strengthen services. 53. What does WHO define as the social determinants of health? Conditions in which people are born, grow, live, work, and age. 54. What is the Global Leprosy Strategy? Whose plan to eliminate leprosy as a public health problem? 55. What is the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, in relation to WHO? Whose commitment to help countries achieve health-related SDGs? 56. What is the WHO Global Strategy on Human Resources for Health? A framework to address the global health workforce crisis. 57. What initiative addresses neglected tropical diseases, NTDs? Whose NTD Roadmap 2021 to 2030? 58. What is the FCTC protocol to eliminate illicit trade in tobacco products? A treaty adopted to prevent tobacco smuggling. 59. What is the EPI? Expanded Program on Immunization launched by WHO in 1974. 60. What is the Global Influenza Surveillance and Response System, GISRS? A WHO network to monitor global influenza trends. 61. What major criticism did WHO face during the 2014 Ebola outbreak? Delayed response and underestimation of severity. 62. Which country suspended WHO funding during COVID-19, citing mismanagement? The United States, 2020, under Trump administration. 63. What is the main concern about whose reliance on voluntary contributions? It can bias priorities toward donors' interests. 64. What organization accused WHO of being China-centric during COVID-19? Critics including some governments and media outlets. 65. Why was WHO's recommendation on travel bans during early COVID-19 controversial? It advised against travel restrictions, which some believed allowed the virus to spread faster. 66. What is the main challenge with the International Health Regulations, IHR? Enforcement and compliance by countries are limited. 67. How is WHO funded? Through assessed and voluntary contributions from member states and donors. 68. What was the role of WHO in the opioid epidemic? Criticized for relying on industry-influenced reports in past opioid guidelines. 69. How did WHO respond to the outbreak of MERS? Provided guidance but faced criticism for limited action due to sovereignty issues. 70. Why did Taiwan accuse WHO of exclusion? It is not allowed to participate fully due to China's opposition. 71. What legal framework governs the international response to public health emergencies? International Health Regulations, 2005. 72. What major outbreak in 2003 challenged WHO's coordination abilities? Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome, SARS. 73. Why is data transparency a recurring issue in WHO-led investigations? Due to national sovereignty and limited access to raw data. 74. What initiative by WHO has been criticized for underestimating local health contexts? One-size-fits-all policy implementation models. 75. Why do some developing nations feel underrepresented in WHO decision-making? Disproportionate influence of wealthier donor countries. 76. What issue did the WHO face regarding COVID-19 vaccine patents? Debates over waiving intellectual property rights. 77. Which program did WHO coordinate to assess global COVID-19 vaccine effectiveness? Solidarity Trial Vaccines. 78. What is a common critique of WHO emergency declarations? Delays that can hinder early responses. 79. Why is WHO often limited in enforcing health regulations? It lacks binding legal authority over sovereign nations. 80. What challenge did WHO face with misinformation during COVID-19? Rapid spread of false information via social media platforms. 81. Which UN agency works closely with WHO on children's health? UNICEF. 82. What partnership focuses on HIV, AIDS with WHO as a key player? UNAIDS. 83. What is the WHO's role in Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance? Strategic partner and technical advisor. 84. What global nutrition target is WHO tracking under SDGs? Reduce stunting in children under 5 by 40% by 2025. 85. What is the role of WHO in the Global Fund to fight AIDS, TB, and malaria? Policy and technical advisory. 86. How does WHO collaborate with the World Bank? Joint initiatives on universal health coverage and pandemic preparedness. 87. What alliance supports mental health policies with WHO support? Mental Health Innovation Network. 88. Which organization co-leads the COVAX facility with WHO? Gavi and CEPI. 89. How does WHO work with NGOs? Through official relations status and field-level coordination. 90. What is the Pandemic Accord? A proposed international agreement to improve global pandemic preparedness and response. 91. What are WHO's core ethical principles in health interventions? Respect, equity, beneficence, and non-maleficence. 92. What WHO document defines global health research standards? Standards and operational guidance for ethics review of health-related research. 93. What is the importance of WHO's One Health approach? It integrates human, animal, and environmental health. 94. What is WHO's stance on gene editing in humans? Calls for strong oversight and international governance. 95. What emerging tech does WHO caution against for data privacy? AI and digital surveillance tools. 96. What legal measure is WHO advocating for to address climate change and health? Integration of health and climate agreements and national policies. 97. What is the global digital health strategy? WHO's roadmap for digital transformation of health systems? 98. What does WHO's global strategy on aging and health address? Health systems adaptation for aging populations. 99. What global framework does WHO use to guide disaster preparedness? Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction. 100. What future threat is WHO prioritizing under its 2025 agenda? Preparedness for Disease X, an unknown future pathogen.